We're talking about Mizkif once again, and you'll note here that he's changed his Twitter bio from owner of OTK and Starforge. Now it just says still owner, now in lawsuit. That's right, Mizkif has filed a lawsuit against Asmongold, Emiru, OTK, and at least one other business entity, all relating to Emiru's allegations against Mizkif. If you are out of the loop, Emiru here previously dated Mizkif, and she came out in a recent stream and alleged that Mizkif had done some very bad things to her, including, driving a car at 150 miles an hour and scaring her, and some significantly worse things. That being said, Mizkif is not happy about the fact that Emiru came forward with all of this stuff, and I think he's even less happy that even though he responded, he's still not getting a positive response from his community, as far as I can tell. And one way that you know that he thinks that is that on his response video, which is this one here, if we scroll down you can see, it's called The Truth, and this was basically an upload to YouTube of the stream that Mizkif did trying to defend himself. Well, he's turned off the likes, so you can't see how many people have liked the video. He's also turned off the comments section. That's not something that you do if you believe the public opinion is on your side. So things are looking bad for Mizkif, and that's why he's filing the lawsuit. Honestly, he probably should have filed the lawsuit before he went on and made a 31-minute statement about the allegations that Emiru made, but I'm not a lawyer. And that's something I want to mention before we get into the full meat and potatoes of this lawsuit. I'm not a lawyer, I'm a YouTuber, so my opinions on this lawsuit probably differ from what his lawyers and what Asmongold's lawyers and what the judge will end up saying, because obviously I'm not an expert. Anyway, the lawsuit we can take a look at here is in the United States District Court for the Western District of Texas, Austin Division. Now, it has people's actual names in this. This is all public record because it's filed with a court system. However, while I'm reading through this lawsuit, whenever I come across somebody's real name, I'm going to try to replace it with their, streamer name, if possible. So you have Mizkif and Mizkif Enterprises LLC, the plaintiffs, versus Emiru, Asmongold, OTK Media, Mythic Talent Management Incorporated, and King Gaming Labs Incorporated. I'm not sure what King Gaming Labs is, but Mythic is a talent agency that's also owned by pretty much the same people that own OTK, as far as I'm aware. Now, this is the complaint. So as we're reading through this, just remember that as the plaintiff, this complaint is filed by Mizkif, so it only has his side. Emiru, Asmongold, OTK, all the other business entities, they have not yet, at the time of recording, submitted a response to this. And when they do, we'll probably look at that as well. This is the plaintiff's original complaint. You have this first paragraph here, which is just restating this stuff. Then you have the parties, jurisdiction, and venue. This is the section where they discuss why the case should be filed in Austin, Texas, who all the people involved are, and how they can be served with the lawsuit. If we scroll down here, we can see the actual interesting meat of the argument, the factual background. Now again, these are facts according to Mizkif. For the past decade, Mizkif has been working tirelessly to build a career in the demanding live streaming and content creation field, primarily on YouTube, a video sharing platform, and Twitch, a live streaming platform. Through years of effort, Mizkif built up his online presence under the handle Mizkif, leading him to a multi-million follower presence across various social media platforms. Mizkif's entire professional life has, during all relevant times, centered around streaming and content creation. Mizkif became one of the most successful creators on Twitch with a following of 2.2 million viewers as of October 2025. He was known for collaborating with other streamers, playing video games, and discussing various issues with his followers and subscribers through Twitch's chat feature. In 2021, he won Best Just Chatting Streamer at the Streamer Awards. The community that Mizkif developed, along with his industry connections and other streamers, his personal reputation, and his business goodwill, allowed him to develop a successful business with multiple income streams from subscribers, ad placements on his videos, sponsorships, and more. In 2020, along with certain other high-profile streamers, Mizkif founded OTK and incorporated OTK, which he remains a part owner of to this day. Emiru joined OTK ownership in 2022. Through the acts and omissions described below, defendants Emiru, Asmongold, and OTK have, acting in concert, wrongfully and basically accused Mizkif of serious criminal activity for no purpose other than to harm him, his reputation, and his business, and to wrest from him control of the companies that he helped build. So this is the core of his actual argument here. First off, he says that everything that Emiru said was wrongful and baseless. He says that Emiru only came forward with this stuff and that Asmongold only talked about it to harm him, his reputation, and his business, and that he believes that they did this in order to wrest from him control of the companies he helped build. He thinks that this whole thing was a strategy to kick him out of OTK and take his shares, as far as I can tell. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Mizkif and Emiru began dating in 2022. The relationship was not easy on either side. They would routinely face harassment from Emiru's followers, some of whom were stalking Emiru. They got into arguments regularly, and Emiru threatened to do some bad things in many of these arguments. Emiru would dress and behave in ways that Mizkif thought made her unsafe in light of the ongoing stalking from some of her followers. At the end of the relationship, Emiru expressed her desire to marry Mizkif and raise children within the next 5 years. Mizkif, contemplating the tumultuous nature of their relationship to that point, could not agree to do so. He called off their relationship and moved from Austin to Los Angeles in January 2025. Again, I just want to remind you guys that this is Mizkif's version of events, and we haven't seen Emiru's version of events yet, and we only will once she's filed a response, which probably will take a few days to a few weeks. 10 months later, On October 24th, 2025, Emiru hosted a live stream on Twitch. On the live stream, she lied and basically accused Mizkif of psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, worse stuff, and threats of blackmail. These slanderous accusations were made live before an audience of tens of thousands and have since been viewed millions of times across various platforms. In the same live stream, Emiru gives accounts of their relationship that clearly do not support the allegations she levied. For example, in her own description of the purported bad incident, and I am changing the wording for that for YouTube purposes, obviously, Emiru states that she and Mizkif were kissing, he tried to initiate intercourse, and she made clear that she did not want to, and Mizkif stopped, respecting the line that she had drawn, and then he quotes her here from her stream. Nonetheless, she continued to defame Mizkif and portray him as a perpetrator of bad things in a video she knew full well would be viewed by millions. That very same day, OTK sent Mizkif a letter purporting to terminate his interest in the company. OTK claimed it was entitled to do so based on the nature of Emiru's allegations. Emiru is the handle under which defendant Emiru operates her streaming and content creation business. OTK's letter is attached hereto as Exhibit A. This letter asserted a number of purported breaches of the owner's agreement. No such breaches occurred. Nonetheless, OTK asserted that it was reclaiming Mizkif's 1,109,139 shares of OTK without payment. So once again, this is Mizkif's side of events. He's saying no breaches occurred. I guarantee you when OTK files their response, they will say that there were breaches and they'll list them out. I believe personally that the fact that they tried to kick him out of ownership and reclaim his shares is probably the real reason he's suing. Now, of course, I can't get within inside his head. I don't know that for a fact, but I would assume that them taking 1 million shares away from him probably made him a little angry in a situation where he was already pretty angry. This letter further asserted that Mizkif owed amounts in excess of $600,000 to Mythic for management fees relating to purported breaches that did not occur. Through OTK, Mythic demanded repayment of these allegedly owed fees. Further, the letter falsely asserted Mizkif violated his agreement with King, purported to reclaim Mizkif's 93,012 shares of stock in King, and demanded a payment of $296,401.92 as a result of purported breaches that again did not occur. Mythic, King, and OTK made no serious investigation or inquiry into the basis for or truth of Emiru's allegations before repudiating their arguments with plaintiffs. Indeed, Mythic, King, and OTK did not even ask Mizkif for comment or information in his possession disproving the allegations. Instead, a few days after Emiru's defamatory livestream, OTK, perpetuating the defamation, put out a statement on X, formerly known as Twitter, that it fully supports its co-owner and sister Emiru and stands by her side and admires her strength in coming forward and sharing her story. In this statement, OTK falsely claimed it had terminated its relationship with Mizkif some time ago for reasons unrelated to recent events. Asmongold, who streams under the handle Asmongold, is a part owner of OTK. Since Emiru's livestream, Asmongold has continuously defamed Mizkif on a near daily basis. He has claimed inter alia Mizkif should be in jail, claimed he was abusing and manipulating others, hurting other people, and becoming an aggressor. For example, in a live stream that has since been uploaded to YouTube, where it garnered 1.9 million views as of the date of this filing, Asmongold states directly that Mizkif was the aggressor and abuser in the relationship with Emiru. Asmongold would then qualify his statement by saying, at least allegedly, but disclaimed that disclaimer itself by saying he has to say that for legal reasons. Now, personally, I don't think that him saying he has to say it for legal reasons, I don't see how that really affects anything, personally. Asmongold has, on a near daily basis, reaffirmed the truth of Emiru's allegations before his millions of followers. Asmongold also claimed on his livestream that there was another, again unspecified, act of misconduct that was the reason Mizkif was removed from OTK. This is in direct contrast to OTK's own account as provided in its letter October 24th. This here is interesting because we're going to see that when OTK files their response and when Asmongold files their response, we're going to see what other reasons that OTK would have had to get rid of Mizkif. Because if they don't have other reasons, then Mizkif's right here. They lied about it. I'm assuming there probably were other reasons and that maybe he just doesn't know about it or he's just, pretending that they're not real. I don't know. I'm not inside Mizkif's head. Whatever the reason was, whatever the other purported reasons were, when OTK files their response, we're going to get to see those. Because again, court filings are public record. Asmongold falsely accused Mizkif of threatening Emiru's employees at TwitchCon, a recent streaming convention. Asmongold has enriched himself personally by advertising revenues and subscription fees garnered from his smear campaign against Mizkif. Even some of Asmongold's own viewership noted he was drama baiting for views. The combined coordinated actions of Emiru, Asmongold, OTK, Mythic, and King have caused serious and lasting damage to Mizkif's personal reputation and his business. Since the defamation occurred, Mizkif has been losing followers and subscribers on a daily basis. Mizkif anticipates the loss of existing sponsorships and increased difficulty in securing future sponsorships. Regretfully, the extreme nature of the misconduct here has compelled Mizkif to file suit. Count 1, he's accusing OTK of breach of contract, saying that they breached their ownership agreement with Mizkif by purporting to oust him from ownership when no event of breach or default giving it authority to take such action had occurred. He's basically saying that OTK had no reason, no right to remove his shares, and that's not something that we can know, right, as observers, until OTK files their response, which I assume will have the actual ownership agreement agreement attached to it, and then we can read through it and see exactly what was going on there. He's also mad that OTK took no effort to investigate the alleged breaches, claiming in its own words that OTK is not involved in nor aware of the content of such personal matter that Mizkif or Emiru may have with each other. Nonetheless, OTK anticipatorily breached its contract with Mizkif based on Emiru's allegations. Similarly, King breached its agreements with plaintiffs by purporting to divest them of their stock in King when no breach or event of default permitting the same had occurred. So he's saying that the King company that he's also suing did the same thing that he's accusing OTK of. Notably, he doesn't mention Mythic here, which is strange. I would have assumed he would have mentioned Mythic. Obviously, he says that this caused damage to him because they took away his shares. Count 2, defamation. He's suing Emiru and Asmongold for defamation. He's saying that they repeatedly published untrue defamatory statements concerning Mizkif to an audience of millions, painting him as all sorts of bad things, that these statements were made with actual malice. Now, this is an important part right here, because as a public figure, my understanding of the defamation law is that he will have to prove that not only did they make these statements knowing that they were not true, but also that they did it maliciously with actual malice, right? And that's really hard to prove. And I'm not sure how he thinks he's going to get there, but in this paragraph, he tries to address that, right? He says that Emiru and Asmongold knew at the time that they published these statements that they were false. When Asmongold and Emiru file their responses, they're going to argue that they're true. So, you know, again, this is just Mizkif's side. Of course, he has to put that there because knowing that the statements are false is a big part of the defamation lawsuit. So, well, I don't know what Asmongold or Emiru actually knew or didn't know. What I can say is that they're going to dispute that part. On belief and information, Emiru and Asmongold knew they stood to benefit from Mizkif's ouster from OTK and the associated companies and coordinated the timing of their statements to maximize the injury inflicted to Mizkif and his company, the plaintiffs. So he's accusing Emiru and Asmongold of colluding together to try to benefit from taking away Mizkif's OTK shares by coordinating the timing to make sure that it was the worst possible timing for Mizkif. I have no idea what that means. That's like a conspiracy theory level reach, in my opinion, but again, I don't have all the facts. He says that these statements have caused severe damage to plaintiff's reputation and business and have caused severe emotional distress and mental anguish. The severe damage to his reputation and business are important for him to mention in this because obviously if you haven't suffered damage, you can't sue for defamation. Count 3, declaratory judgment, OTK, Mythic, and King. In this, he's upset that the defendants, which is OTK, Mythic, and King, attempted to, quote, unlawfully divest plaintiffs of their interest in the companies, so he's upset about them taking away his shares. Obviously, he's gonna be mad about that. He denies that he owes Mythic any management fees. He says that they are unlawful and they're not due and he doesn't owe them. He then goes on to say that OTK wrongfully accelerated a promissory note. I don't know what that's referring to, but he says that OTK had no legal basis to demand upon. He wants attorney's fees. He says that Mizkif has been forced to retain the undersigned counsel to protect him and his interests and is accruing legal fees. Mizkif and his company are entitled to recover their reasonable and necessary attorney's fees. They are further entitled to attorney's fees under Texas law. In connection with the declaratory relief sought, plaintiffs further claim any entitlement to attorney's fees that they may have at law or in equity. So again, he's suing for attorney's fees. It's probably going to be a lot in this case. I would assume that Asmongold and OTK and Emiru and everybody else will probably also file asking for attorney fees, but again, we won't know that until they actually submit. Mizkif is saying that he has been damaged by reputational harm, loss of business goodwill, loss of earnings, loss of future earning potential, emotional distress, and mental anguish. Obviously, he's going to say that all of that's happening. I'm pretty sure that all of that is happening to him. Like, I won't dispute him on that. I think he's having a very hard time. His conclusion, he wants the court to give him damages. He wants reasonable and necessary attorney's fees. He wants pre and post judgment interest at the maximum rate allowable by law. He wants the court to declare that OTK, King, and Mythic have no claims against the plaintiffs. He wants a declaration that OTK and King's attempt to divest him and his company of their interests in companies at issue were ineffective as a matter of law. And then he just has a, you know, any other further relief I want to seek. So that's basically the full text of his lawsuit. Again, I did paraphrase and skip over a little bit. So personally, I don't think that this is a great lawsuit. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but it feels to me that a lot of the stuff he says in this should be easily disprovable, assuming that Mizkif isn't right? If Mizkif is in the wrong, then OTK, Emiru, Asmongold, they should be able to prove him wrong. So it's going to be a very interesting case, right? Because even if OTK, Mythic, King, Asmongold, Emiru all have proof that they're in the right, it's probably still going to go to court. It's probably going to go on for a very long time. It's going to be messy. There's going to be all sorts of stuff brought out into the public, and who knows who's going to end up on top in this. More than likely, I think Mizkif is probably hoping for a settlement. That's what I would hope for if I was in his shoes. I don't know if that's going to work out for him. I think that if I was Mizkif, I would be very worried about discovery. I don't think that Asmongold and Emiru have to be as worried about discovery. It's possible that maybe they DM'd and Mizkif can get access to their DMs and try to prove that they were colluding together, which is his accusation in this lawsuit. But if I'm Mizkif, I'd be more worried about them, you know, subpoenaing all of his text messages, all of his Discord messages, anything that could possibly be construed as him being aggressive or abusive or anything in his entire relationship to Emiru, because they can probably get that, right, as part of Discovery. And then everything that comes out in Discovery becomes public record. So it's going to be an interesting few months to a year or two as this is going on. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in all sorts of different streamers on both sides to try to testify to what actually happened here behind the scenes. I don't know if they allow cameras into federal courts in Texas. In fact, I'm pretty sure they don't, but if they did, that'd be pretty cool. So let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think that Mizkif is going to win? Do you think that Asmongold, Emiru, OTK, and everybody else are going to win? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. Remember to like and subscribe. Have a great day, and God bless you.